In a misty village nestled among green hills, there lived an old man and his wife. They were kind and hard-working, but fortune had never smiled upon them. Their thatched cottage leaned tiredly against the wind. Their rice bowl was often half empty, and their clothes were patched more times than they could count. Yet they never complained, greeting each dawn with quiet, stubborn hope. One morning, while gathering firewood in the bamboo grove, the old man noticed something gleaming beneath a fallen leaf. He knelt and brushed the earth aside, and there sat a beetle made of pure gold. Its shell shimmered with colors no living insect had ever worn, catching the light like a tiny captured sun. The old man cupped it gently in his weathered hands and carried it home. That evening, something extraordinary happened. When the old woman placed the golden beetle beside a bowl of plain rice, the rice doubled, then doubled again. When they set it near their copper coins, the coins multiplied until the table could hold no more. The beetle carried the blessing of boundless abundance. Wordlessly, the old couple stared at one another, hardly daring to believe their own eyes. Within weeks, their humble cottage was replaced by a fine house with carved wooden beams and a courtyard garden. Neighbors marveled at the transformation. The old couple shared their wealth generously, giving rice to the hungry and coin to the cold. But prosperity brought worry. The golden beetle was precious beyond measure, and thieves had begun whispering about it in the tea houses along the river. The old man called his two companions, a loyal brown dog and a sleek white cat, both of whom had lived with the family since they were tiny. He placed the golden beetle in a carved sandalwood box on the altar table. "Guard this with your lives," he told them. "It has brought us everything we have. Lose it, and we lose everything." The animals seemed to understand. The dog took his duty with fierce devotion. Each night he curled himself before the altar table, ears pricked, eyes scanning the shadows. He patrolled the courtyard, barked at every passing shadow, and never let weariness soften his vigilance. The beetle was sacred trust, and the dog held it as dearly as he held the old couple who had raised him. The cat, however, was a different creature entirely. She regarded the beetle as a nuisance that disturbed her naps. While the dog kept watch, she dozed on the warmest roof tile she could find, stretching lazily in the afternoon sun. She licked her paws, chased the occasional butterfly, and treated the whole affair as beneath her dignity. After all, she reasoned, nothing ever happened in this quiet village. One autumn night, when the moon hung low and swollen over the hills, the old couple traveled to a distant market and left the animals alone. The dog settled into his place beside the altar, alert as always. The cat, finding the evening mild and pleasant, slipped outside to hunt moths by the garden wall, promising herself she would return shortly. She did not. Inside the quiet house, the sandalwood box began to tremble. The golden beetle, restless in the moonlight, pushed against the lid with surprising strength. Bit by bit, the lid shifted, and the beetle climbed over the edge, dropped to the table, and began walking toward the open window, its golden shell casting faint reflections on the walls like a wandering star. The dog caught the scent at once. He sprang to his feet and barked sharply toward the garden, calling the cat back to her post. But the cat, drowsy and comfortable among the chrysanthemums, merely flicked an ear in his direction and settled deeper into her cozy spot. She could not be bothered. The beetle was the dog's concern, she thought, not hers. Frantic, the dog leapt onto the table, but the beetle was already at the window's edge. He lunged forward, jaws snapping, but the beetle dropped from a sill into the garden below and began crawling toward the open gate. The dog barked and barked, his voice echoing through the silent village, but the cat only yawned from her perch and looked away. The dog scrambled down and raced through the garden, his paws churning the earth. He followed the golden trail through the gate and into the bamboo grove, barking all the while. But the beetle was swift and the night was dark. Among the thick roots and tangled grasses, the golden glimmer faded. The beetle vanished into the earth as though it had never been found. When the old couple returned at dawn, they found the sandalwood box empty. The old man searched the garden, the grove, the hills beyond, calling softly as though the beetle might answer. He found nothing. The dog hung his head and whimpered. The cat sat on the roof, licking her paws, utterly indifferent. The old man looked from one animal to the other and understood. He spoke no angry words, but his sorrow was heavy. "The beetle gave us everything," he said quietly, "and the beetle is gone." He looked at the cat, who blinked slowly and turned away. Then he looked at the dog, whose eyes brimmed with shame and grief. The old man placed his hand on the dog's head and said nothing more. The matter was settled. From that day forward, the dog would never forgive the cat. Whenever he saw her, his hackles rose and a low growl rumbled in his chest. The cat, for her part, fled at his approach, knowing she had failed her duty. The old couple grew poor again, living simply as before, but the feud between their animals never softened and never ended. And so, say the elders, every dog in the world still remembers that night. When a dog barks at a cat for no reason at all, it is not mere instinct. It is ancient grievance passed down through generations. The tale reminds us that trust, once